if you've paid any attention recently, you should have known that adding the Motobug to Marble Zone is a generally very terrible idea. Hello, friend. Ah! So you know what? Today I'm gonna show you how to do just that. Hi, my name is Selbi. I'm currently sick, as you might be able to hear from my voice, so I apologize for the nasally voice that I'm gonna give you today, but this is gonna be a sweet and short tutorial, so let's get started. The first thing that you wanna do when starting something like this is to add the object itself. I'm gonna open SonLVL, I'm gonna open the project file, and then I'm gonna go to Marble Zone. The first thing that we want to do is add a new object to the level itself. Since the Motobug is a badnik, what we can do is take another badnik, such as the bus bomber, and then over here at the right side we can change the ID to 40. Why 40? Because if you go into your ink ops folder, remember that is where all the objects in Sonic 1 are, you will see that the Motobug has the ID 40. So we change the ID to 40. Now, if we do that, you will notice that the Motobug is showing up as a question mark over here. And that has a very good reason. The definitions for the objects in Marble Zone do not contain the Motobug. But that doesn't matter. That is just for the editor itself. And at the end of the video, I'm actually going to show you how to fix that. For now, it doesn't matter. All we need to do is add an object with ID 40. There's just one thing that I want you to pay attention to, and that is over here. This is the remember state flag. And that is definitely one of the things that beginners tend to mess up a lot. Whenever there's something in a level that is permanently destroyed, such as a badnik or a monitor, you want to make sure the remember state flag is set to true. That's just one of the things why I used a bus bomber as an example, because SonLVL has those set up in such a way that they are set to true. So we've done that now. We're gonna click save, and now we are going to build our ROM. We're gonna open it, and we will just go to Marble Zone Act 1. And if we do that, we should now see a disgusting jumbled mess of whatever the hell this is. But you can definitely see what it is. It is the Motobug, and the reason it just works like this is because the object itself doesn't really matter. The code works with pretty much any zone in the game. The one thing that we need to take care of right here is actually something completely different, and that is, as you might have just already seen, the art. So we're gonna do that next. Now, depending on what kind of emulator you use, you should be able to find some sort of VRAM debugger. I'm just gonna use the one in Gens over here, and if we scroll through this stuff, you can see every single tile that is loaded into the level. And you scroll through it all, and you will see we basically have no free space left except for the very bottom, which I recommend you don't touch. You should generally keep everything before the around C000 mark. But as you might be able to see, there is no free space anywhere. Or is there? If we take a closer look at around 9C00, you will be able to recognize this shape. Those are the tiles of Sonic's hand on the title screen. So what happened here is this part is actually unused by Marble Zone, and it was simply carried over from the title screen because the VRAM wasn't cleared yet. So I'm just gonna show you how to make this stuff a little bit easier. Open Sonic.asm. Go to the game mode for levels, which is a GM_level, and then right here underneath the line for disable ints, we want to clear the VRAM up until the point where it's necessary. I recommend you don't put this into your actual ROM hack, this is just to test. You want to do it with a command that looks like this. Fill VRAM 00C000. Just copy paste that right underneath the disable ints. Now let's build our ROM again. Let's return to Marble Zone. And now if we go into the VDP debugger, we should be able to see a bit more free space. And there you have it. Right around here at 9C0, you will see this little flame from the buzzer run, and everything following it is free for our use. I know this is going to fit for the Motobug. If you don't know how big your object is, then I recommend you open Flex 2. You open the objects, in this case the Motobug. You want to go to the mappings editor and then click on any random tile. Doesn't matter which one. What we want to check is over here at the tile. It says whatever we've just selected, /1D in this case. So we know there are hexadecimal 1D tiles in this thing. So that's the amount of tiles that we need. We can just count it by hand, but I just want to tell you it will fit in here. So the first thing that we want to do now is we will go to the folder _inc, and then we will open the file pattern load queues. And this file contains every single art asset that is loaded per level. So here's everything for Green Hill Zone, and there is the line for the Motobug. So we're going to copy that one, and then we go to Marble Zone and paste it in. This right here, as you might expect, will not work simply like that, because for the Green Hill Zone Motobug, the VRAM asset is completely different. That doesn't matter for now. All I want you to do for now is just make _mz. And now what we want to do next is we will go into a file at the root folder called constants.asm. We search for the Motobug, and there you have it, the art tile for the Motobug. We can copy this line, rename it to MZ. And now, what does this number mean? This number is the VRAM address that you saw earlier divided by hexadecimal 20, because each tile has a size of hexadecimal 20. So instead of calculating this by hand, all we want to do is take what we saw earlier in our editor, which was 9C20, and then we divide that by 20. And now if we build another ROM, we should be able to take a look at the tiles, scroll down to 9C20, and there you have it. It fit neatly into this little block. But unfortunately, that's not everything yet, because we still need to adjust the art assets for this little guy itself. Now we go back to IncOpsh 40 Motobug. And then right here at the start, you will see this line, make art tile. So this one is currently setting the art tile address for Green Hill Zone. So what we want to do is we want to make a duplicate of this line that is going to use MZ. And then obviously we need to make a check for whether we are on Green Hill Zone or Marble Zone. So in this case, I'm not going to make it so that by default it's using the one from Green Hill Zone, but if we are on Marble Zone, we can adjust that. The command to do that is actually pretty simple. It's CMPI, which stands for compare immediate, in a byte form, #ID_MZ, comma, and then v_zone.w. This is checking if the current zone is Marble Zone. And if it isn't, we're gonna do BNE, which stands for branch if not equal, short branch, because we're gonna go a very short distance, and then we're just gonna do moto not MZ. Go underneath this line, rewrite this, not MZ, and that's all we need to do. So, you might be wondering what these two numbers mean. These are for the palette, which is this number, and for whether it's priority, which is this number. This number can be between 0 and 3, and it's gonna be one of the 4 palette lines that you see on the Mega Drive. The priority can be either 0 or 1, and when it's 1, the sprite will be drawn in front of other sprites. In this case, it really doesn't matter, but just for the fun of it, because I've checked this earlier, we can actually change the palette line to 1. And that's gonna look funny in a bit. But for now, let's just save that, build it, and then let's see how our little guy has turned out. And there you have it, the little yellow boy. I just thought it was cute to have him be a bit more adjusted to Marble Zone, because just by sheer dumb coincidence, it already looks pretty good, just like that. But if you don't care about that, you can of course keep it at line 0. So that is the general idea of how to get the assets to work fine in any zone you want. Now just one last thing, and that is how we can make him show up properly in the editor. For that we will go to the SonLVL ini files, and then over here, next to the SonLVL ini, which is for the root project structure itself, you will also see these files for the object definitions. As you might be able to expect, if you open the one for Green Hill Zone and go down to object 40, over here you will see the Motobug. So we can just copy that definition. Now we open Marble Zone and put it right in between 33 and 45. And because I've just adjusted it like that, I'm actually gonna change the palette line to 1 here as well. So now we can open SonLVL again, open SonLVL ini, and go to Marble Zone. And there you have it. The perfectly yellow Motobug in all its glory. And if we take a look over here at the editor, you will actually be able to drop him right there from there. And with all that said, I think that's all you need to add the Motobug to Marble Zone. Of course, you can take this general approach to any other zone. It's always the same. Try to find some free VRAM. Use this fill VRAM macro to clear everything else first so you have a clean slate to work with. Find the space where you could slot the stuff in between, and then do that in the pattern load queues. There's just one last thing that I want you to know, and that is some levels, especially Green Hill Zone, are pretty much completely full already, and it's gonna be really tough to find free VRAM. This is one of the things that makes Sonic hacking so complicated, because you really have no chance other than to rearrange or even delete some other objects. I actually did that myself with Sonic Eraser, by completely removing the neutron enemy just to get a bit more VRAM. That's just how these things are. But the general idea should be the same. So, happy hacking, and I hope I see you again in another Sonic hacking tutorial very soon. So, take care, bye bye.